Hey everybody, we're here to answer all your questions about buying houses, programs, home loans, different stuff like that. You guys know the routine. You're not new here. You know what we do, but you know what we need from you? Fill up that chat box so we can answer all your questions, address all your challenges or issues, and make sure you're walking down the right path so you can buy a house. Guys, we help people buy houses every single day, whether it's actually closing the loan or sending them down the path of credit challenges that they're getting addressed, credit repair, how to spike their credit score, how to find down payment money, how to get money for closing costs, how to negotiate deals. We're helping agents, teaming them up with new buyers just like you. And know this, when we team you up with a real estate agent, we team you up with someone good. We team you up with someone that knows what they're doing. So here's a recommendation, guys, because everyone has a friend or a family member or an uncle that heard about real estate once. Trust a professional, okay? If your best friend who just started real estate, just got their license and is hungry to learn, that's awesome. That's great. I don't know if you want to be their first client, though. Okay, or even first dozen clients. It takes a lot of different files to go through to learn the challenges, to identify how to really help people. So if you have someone that's interested in buying a house, let us know. If you're interested in buying a house, you know that if you want to get started, go to the link up top and click apply for a home loan now. And you know, if you have crappy credit, click on fix your credit and get that process started too. So Lee, what do we got for today?
Let's see. Fed came out and spoke a little bit, but nothing. Fed doesn't get spooked, man. The whole world is spooked, and the whole world is anticipating what the Fed's going to do, but the Fed isn't spooked. They're not spooked at all, and that's very comforting. Yeah, and it's also very annoying.
Yes, extremely. Because do they really say anything? Do they really tell the plan and what they really expect? Or do they just kind of vaguely talk about things and vaguely give an idea of what they're going to be doing?
What I liken it to is this. If you drive a boat, you ever driven a boat, you know you're headed towards the dock. But as you're going towards the dock, you have to read the wind. Because the wind is going to push which way the water's going, and you have to steer into the water. But you don't know exactly how. If you'd ask me, how do I steer exactly? It's not math. There's a little bit of art involved. There is some math involved. But if a big boat comes by and creates a big old wave, you have to factor that in. And if you're coming too hot and you don't have reverse, you have to factor that in. So there's all of these Kentucky windage factoring things that have to happen, and the Fed has to go through these things in order to bring this down here. Same thing with an airplane. If you're landing an airplane, if you actually understand how an airplane works, it's a beacon that bounces off all different spots. And they kind of go off course and they get corrected, and they go off course and they get corrected, and they go off course. They're off course like 98% of the time. But they're not that far off course. They're just off course. And then they correct course and they correct course. And the truth is, if you micro that, you could say that to your drive. When I come to work every day, I'm a little off course and I correct, a little off course and correct. I think that's what the Fed's doing. He knows where we're going, and it's not apparent when you're driving because you course correct all the time, just tiny course corrections. When you're in a boat, it's much more apparent because you're like, holy shit, this current is pushing me so hard. I need to correct hard in order to compensate for this. And once I go dead stick, no power, that current's going to take over. I better know what to do when I do that because it's really hard to gain back in the flow of things. In fact, sometimes you're better off just circling all the way around, coming back.
That's a moment by moment situation though. So you're talking about a plane and a boat, okay? That's an actual in the moment. Yeah. Captain has control and is doing things in the moment. And this is stuff that happens over seconds through hours, okay? But with the Fed, is it a daily thing?
Yes.
Is it a seconds by the hour thing?
Yes.
Where they're readjusting,
but it's not
readjusting?
Yes.
Or do they wait for the report to come out and then respond to a report?
No. The report is what's happening when they report it. It's not what's happening in the economy. It does somewhat dictate a little bit, but they know that, hey, if you watch new truck sales, I've been watching new truck sales for about 2 years now. New truck sales are tanking, like tanking. They have 2 years of inventory on new trucks. Ram My TRX is the one I might buy, a Ram TRX. There's Ram 1500, Ram 2500. The Chevys are overloaded. The Cadillacs are overloaded. All the trucks are overloaded, and they know this. Why do they know this? Well, because people aren't making the income. Credit card delinquencies are at an all-time high right now. The highest that they've been since 2008, the crash. They are at that high. So they do factor in all the people that are in credit cards, the fact that people aren't buying automobiles. They watch, the reason CPI is important is because they get a basket of goods and they go, hey, listen, how much do eggs cost? How much does coffee cost? How much does milk cost? And they factor that in and they go, okay, cool. Hey, this month everything is a little bit more expensive. This month everything's a little less expensive. And that every month they factor that in.
So
then they say
monthly,
how many,
not daily. That's what I was saying.
no, I'm saying daily. That one comes in monthly.
Okay.
CPI comes in monthly. But then they know how many housing starts. How many builders are saying, hey, I want to build a new house. They have this data. On that day, they bring in housing starts.
Then why do they wait for a moment? So because interest rates went up really fast in 2022.
Yes.
Really fast, okay? But it was over 8 months. It wasn't in a day. It wasn't in a month. It was over 8 months. Why do they wait that period in order and keep ratcheting instead of, if they know where they're going and they know what they're doing on a daily basis, how come they don't make the adjustments in the moment?
Because it's not a exact science. Like, for instance, if I try and dock a boat on a perfectly calm lake, it's easy. It's cakewalk. You don't even need to have any skill at all. It's just, hey, drift in really slow, and then the inertia will take you to the dock. But the minute you start getting waves, the minute something doesn't come in right, there's a little bit of skill. If you have high winds and multiple people and tight spots, you need very high skill. Well, every time we hire too many people, or crypto crashes, or we have a problem with Russia, we have a problem with China, or there's some kind of global conflict, or we're launching our ships out to the Middle East, that every time something like that happens, that factors into the overall economy. So is it CPI? Yeah, that's one. That's what people look at. That's the basket of goods, consumer price index. But there's a lot of other factors, like, for instance, housing starts is a big one. How many people are buying houses? Because this is a leading economic indicator, because the housing starts will tell you how long before houses are built. How long before they're built? Because if I pull a housing start right now in May or June, it's called June. If I pull a housing start in June, it's going to be 9 months before that house is built. So that house isn't going to sell for 9 months. But in that 9 months, I have to hire the landscape guy in order to level the land. Then I have to hire the concrete guy to pour the pad. Then I have to hire the framer. Then I have to hire the electrician and everybody inside. Then the interior designer and the roofer and the solar guy and all these people. So when a housing start gets pulled, they know that there's all these jobs behind it. And then when it's finally certificate of occupancy, now it's a house for sale. Now it goes on the market. Now we get to use a loan guy, because the loan guy gets in. Then we get a pest inspection. Or pest person that comes in every month or whatever. We get a landscaper that comes out and does that. So there's a lot behind that housing starts, not one thing. CPI is one that people look at, but the Fed looks at housing starts. They look at what's going on in Russia. What's the UK doing? Is the Nikkei crashing? Is what's going on is the cryptocurrency giving us a problem? All of these things, when SBF went down, remember that Sam Bankman-Fried? That was not a small thing. That was a big thing that has gigantic economic factors. Now, to put that back into the boating analogy, the boat's coming into a dock and then a gigantic boat just comes right by it. And you're like, holy shit, I had this thing, but whoa. I got to correct it now. So if you're a skilled boat captain and you go, okay, cool, I still got to go for that dock, but I did get rocked a little bit. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to change my speed, change my pitch, change my angle, but I'm still going there. And when the Fed does this, they know where they're going. They knew, like you said, in 2022, we knew a year ahead of time that rates were going up. Everybody knew it. The Fed told us. They said, hey, interest rates could be as high as 8%. They said 10, actually. They said interest rates could be as high as 8%, 10%. And we're like, yeah, I don't know if they're ever going to go that high. That sounds ridiculous. The Fed told us, like in black and white, they said, in order to correct for what we had to do during the economic downturn of the COVID crisis, during that time, we had to lower interest rates to make sure the U.S. economy didn't collapse. And because we did that, we have to now pay the piper. And we're paying the piper like right now. We are paying the piper right now. And the Fed said, hey, listen, all right, cool. Things got out of control. Everybody had too much money. The government just started writing checks to people. People are getting ridiculous amounts of money for stupid stuff. Influencers became millionaires overnight. What? These guys buy Lambos. Well, that creates a false economy. When that false economy is there, they're like, no, we got to get things back to right. In order to get back to right, we got to hurt, man. We got to hurt. And that's what's happening right now. And the Fed says, hey, if we got to hurt a little bit longer, I'm okay with that. I ain't freaked out. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. We'll get back to this in a second. Let's answer blessed. I don't have any credit card, never applied for one. Can I buy a home, have a good salary?
Blessed, you are blessed. Yes. So, fact, you are blessed. Facts, you are blessed. If you have a good salary, yes, there's something called alternative credit. I can use alternative credit. Ideally, we would have a credit score, but if you don't have a credit score, you have paid some bills. You pay the rent where you live, or the electricity, or your phone bill. You pay something. And if I can get 3 trade lines of what you pay, I can build an alternative credit file.
Yeah, credit cards are a very good tool. They're a very good tool to help you with your credit. They're a very good tool to manage your life in life, to pay for things and get your scores up and history and stuff like that, but not necessarily necessary. So, blessed. You have a good salary, so you probably own a car, right? You probably financed a couple cars in your life, depending on how old you are. You've probably done a lot of things that have helped you establish credit. So, here's what I'm going to recommend, blessed. It's the same thing I recommend to everyone. Click on the link above. Click on apply for a home loan now. Let's see where you stand. Doesn't affect you negatively. Doesn't cost you anything. And you'll know exactly where you're at. And if you're not in the right trajectory to buy a house right now, we'll send you in that area so that you can buy a house in the near future.
Navy Mom Donna just joined. What's up, Navy Mom Donna? Great to see you.
User 4419, 78K a year, first-time home buyer, 3K in debt. Do I qualify? Credit 638.
So probably yeah. In fact, you're probably cracking 320, 330, 340, 350, maybe as high as 360, depending on 2 things. One is property tax base. Wherever you're at, there is a payment that has to be included in there, and that's called property taxes. And the property tax base is set by your state and your county, and sometimes your local municipality. But your property tax base is a very big determining factor. And homeowners insurance. If you're borrowing money, the bank wants to know, hey, if this thing burnt down, that thing needs to be made back to whole. I need that thing back to whole so I can have value here. So that's homeowners insurance. So you have to have those 2 things. You have to. No question about it. But at $78K a year, you're probably cracking 320 to 380, somewhere in that range. And 638 FICO, that's okay, not great, but qualifying. FHA, 580 for 3.5% down. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, 620 for either 3% down or 5% down. So either one of those. We can use down payment assistance programs, but at 638, you only qualify for probably 1. And they're not all they're cracked up to be. So if you're looking to buy a house, real simple, give us a call, we'll help you out.
Yeah. Okay, so back to our conversation, okay? The Fed knows what's going on day by day. They get these reports and they put out the data like they did yesterday, right? They put out some data yesterday, and we walked into better interest rates today because of it. Now, that doesn't mean interest rates went down. It just means that our economy, or actually the consumers out there, they have a little bit more confidence for whatever reason. The data that was put out sounded good to them, so interest rates came down, blah, 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 right? Why do we always have revisions? So this data that was put out yesterday was based on revisions. So if they know what's going on and it's already happened, what are they revising? Are they lying to us?
There's a conspiracy theory behind this, but I also think there's a reality to it. So let's just say you and I say we're going to close 20 loans this month, okay? And then we're at the morning meeting at the beginning, and we look like we have 20 loans in escrow, and everything looks good. And you can, yes, I'm going to close 20 loans this month. I'm going to close 20. I know I am. And I'm like, yeah, I think we're going to close 20 loans a month too. So we tell everybody we're going to close 20 loans a month. At the end of the month, we find out that someone was married, someone got divorced, we didn't like this property for this reason, and we only closed 16. But 3 are moving over to the next month. Now, did we lose those 3 loans? We didn't lose those 3 loans. 1 is shopping and somewhere else, but 3 moved over to the next month. So were we lying when we said 20 loans a month? No, because that was our best guess. After everything's been data and tallied, can you make the argument that those other 3 should have been in the last month? You can, but it's not real.
So you're saying GDP reports and PCE reports are guesses?
Correct.
They're guessing.
They're
So they're not basing
guess.
it on
Correct.
data that we've had.
Correct.
They're basing it on projections.
Correct. And well,
Okay.
the projections are this. How many housing starts did we get this today? How many housing starts did we get this month? Should I say this month? How many housing starts did I get this month? Well, there was 10,000 housing starts. 10,000. All right, cool. Now we go back the next month. We go, okay, of those 10,000, oh yeah, a couple of them couldn't get financing. 2 of the builders went bankrupt. Somebody lost some money. So it was only 9,200. It wasn't 10,000. Okay, so now we have to reconcile the numbers so we keep the numbers accurate.
So how do they predict GDP? Like, what's that based on?
It's how much got sold.
Yeah,
Gross
so
domestic
sold.
product. Yeah, gross
Sold. So
domestic
that's not a projection.
product.
That's an actual something that happened, right?
Not till you reconcile and it's in the books. It's like counting your commission before you got it.
That's projection again. So
You're
your sold is pre or post.
Yeah.
Projection is pre.
correct. Yeah,
So what are they basing it on?
They're basing it off of the real number that came in. There's really 10,000 housing starts that started. That's
So
a
that's
start.
Post.
No, that's
post.
start. No, that's actual.
Well, the count is post. So actually 10 started. Let's just say
Yes,
10
10 started.
So
But
that
how
number's
many
not
actually
changing.
No, that start happened. Okay? So based off of that start, they get to go, hey, listen, based off of that, there's going to be this many concrete people hired, this many this hired, this many that hired, da. So our numbers say it's going to be this. Then when they actualize it, they go, oh, wait a minute. Of those 10,000, only 9,200 made it. So now I have to adjust this because one affects the other, affects the other, affects the other. So it's not so steadfast, and it's not necessarily that they're lying. It's a lot of moving pieces. It's like that boat. It's like, hey, you said you could dock this with no problem. Yeah, that was before the ship went by. Now I have some problems.
Still need more clarification on that. But let's answer some of these questions. User 4419, thank you for the love. DJ Kid, thank you for the love. You're welcome, 4419. And Daily Truth Update. Love the message on the screen.
Appreciate you. Are there aliens?
message?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think it
that's
means
good.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rancho Fun Go. By law, can I remove my PMI without refinancing?
By law, you want to break the law.
You wanna call the
You want to
cops?
break the law. Let's bring the sheriff in here. Let's bring CHP.
Don't call the cops.
Bring the California Highway Patrol here. You know what? Let's call the FBI. And I think INS is the law too. Let's get the INS in here. Give me some other 3-letter. Let's get the FBI, the CIA.
What's the one that picks up the dogs in the streets?
Let's get the Dog Catcher Association of America involved here. So it's not law. There's no law. It's not really. It's not law. It's a for-profit organization, meaning Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, or the other one, FHA, which is a government entity, and they are lending you a amount of money. And based off of that amount of money, they say, hey, listen, if you have enough skin in this game, we're both at risk. So if you put 20% down, we're both at risk. I'm taking 80% risk. You're taking 20% risk. But if you put less than 20%, they say, oh, wait a minute. I'm not comfortable with this arrangement. So in order for me to be comfortable, I need you to take out mortgage insurance in the event that you default. And the more you put down, the cheaper the mortgage insurance will be. The better your FICO score, because that's your reputation of paying bills. The better your FICO score, the lower the mortgage insurance will be. So that's what dictates the mortgage insurance. And then inside of the agreement, it says, hey, at 80% loan to value based off of our numbers, not yours, our numbers, will allow you out of needing mortgage insurance. When is that? We're not entirely sure because we don't know what's going to happen with the market. But we will tell you at 80% you can petition. At 78% by our numbers, we sign a contract stating that we will take it out. So by law, it's cute. That's a nice strong word. I love it. But it's not really appropriate inside of that other than, hey, you might be violating contract law. That maybe. So can you, what was it?
Rancho Fugo.
By law, I remove my PMI without refinancing. So FHA is a agreement. You agreed to get into an FHA loan, and if you did it with 3.5% down for the life of the loan, you can't get out of it. You have to refinance out of it. If you put more than 10% down inside of the contract, the agreement, FHA said you can get out in 11 years. In 11 years. You can get out in 11 years. So it's an agreement. It's not something where, boom, can I remove my PMI without refinancing? Maybe if you're in a conventional Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Maybe if you put more than 10% down on an FHA. There you go.
So let me tell you, you can figure it out on your own. I'll give you the data, okay? So let's say that you bought a house at, or borrowed $100,000, okay? $100,000. And the house is worth $100,000. This is just for easy math. They want you to pay that loan down to $78,000 before the mortgage insurance will automatically come off. A lot of people think because I came in at 100 and now it's worth 120, I have that 20%, so it should come off. That's not the case. They want you to pay the original loan amount down to 78%. And if that's the case for you, call your bank. Tell them to remove it. Or you'll have to refinance.
Yep.
Rhino.
And that's why I say by their numbers, because everybody calls us. They're like, "Hey, Lee, I've appreciated value."
Their numbers,
yeah,
not
I know.
our numbers.
Yeah, it's not.
We're not the bank.
Trust me, I want you to get the lowest interest rate. I don't make any more money if you get a better interest rate or worse. I make the same amount of money because I set up I'm what's called a captive loan officer. I work for New American Funding. I'm a direct lender. So I want you to get the best rate you can. And I will fight with my company to get you a better rate.
And me.
And him to get you a better rate. I will fight with anybody I have to get a better rate. But I need the ammunition to do it. And the way I get ammunition is I say, hey, listen, if you get a quote from somebody else, send me the quote and I'll go fighting. If it's not real, then I really can't beat because it's not a real quote. But I will fight. I will fight. I'm fighting one right now, and I'm going to continue fighting for this client because I want them to get the best they can. But more important than that, I want to get the house. Some people get caught up in, hey, I want the best rate, and they lose the house. Don't do that.
Yeah. Rhino, $150K a year with $800 a month of debt. Credit 680, FHA estimate for loan amount. Rhino. That's a badass file.
Rhino, we want to do your loan. You're probably cracking $650,000. $650,000. What? $650,000. In Los Angeles, that's not that great of a house. In Arkansas, it's a freaking mansion.
Nice.
Yeah, mansion. In Detroit, you'll get the whole block. You won't just get one house. You get the whole block in Detroit.
Woo-wee. Where do you guys live? Tell us city and state. Let us know. Big Daddy, thank you for the love. Mia Love. Loan officers are required to give the pre-approval letter to the client, right? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Are there some not?
Mia Love. That's not a requirement. It's not really a requirement. It's it's if any good loan, if my client said, hey, I want my pre-approval letter, I'd send it to him. Of course. It's ridiculous. This is a service business. I have to serve my client. My client is my boss, not New American Funding. I'm their boss. The truth is, if all the loan officers leave New American Funding goes bankrupt. We are the boss. We are what's called producing loan officers, which means we get loans and we keep the place alive. So we're their boss.
We also have a boss. Who's our boss?
My boss is my client.
Mia Love.
My Mia Love, you're the boss. You are the boss. And if you said, hey, Lee, I want a copy of my pre-call letter, you know what my answer would be? Sure, no problem. If you said, hey, I would really like a copy of my desktop underwriting full file, you know what I'd say? Yeah, no problem. I'll get it to you. You won't understand it unless you're a loan officer, but I'll send it to you if you want it.
What if they said, I want the 5% rate. I don't care if it costs $45,000. What do you say?
I'll say if the guideline works, I'll get it for you. Yeah, if it works within the guideline, I'll get it for you. So here's the thing. And people think that the loan officer is in with the realtor. That happens sometimes. But if you have a really good realtor or a really good loan officer, they're not trying to steer you to another loan officer or steer you to another realtor. I call people and I'm like, hey, listen, if you have a realtor, I'll work with any professional realtor. And a lot of times they'll say, I already have one. All right, cool. I want you to know I am going to fight for you. I may offend the realtor in the process. They're like, that's okay, Lee. I'm cool with that. That happens a lot. Or they'll say, no, Liel, I want you to choose, please help me get a realtor. And I'll help them. I have a method to help them get a realtor. But it's a very, very competitive business.
Yeah. Anthony M. Rates in 2025.
Yes.
What's the projection? What's going to happen?
Anthony M., there will be rates in 2025. I am 100% positive that there will be rates in 2025. If I am wrong, that will mean that we have been nuked by Russia, and that's not going to happen. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Ooh.
Oh, we're about to get banned. So we're going to get slapped for
we're
that.
fine. Keep moving.
Anyway, is there going to be rates in 2025? Yes, there are going to be rates in 2025. If you want to know what my prediction is in 2025, I'm not qualified to make that prediction. But I am qualified to read the chart from the Fed funds who says, hey, listen, in 2024, we're at 5.25. In 2025, we anticipate somewhere in the neighborhood of 4.5 is probably the median, 4.5, but they're across the board. So I would say that the Fed funds rate will be at 4.5. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that the difference between the Fed funds rate and the mortgage interest rate is traditionally 100 to 250 basis points. That's a lot. What does that mean in English? That means that rates will be between 5.5 and about 7, somewhere in that range. Because currently, we are at 5.25 and 5.5. If you take the Fed funds rate of 100 basis points to 250, what does that mean? That means we're at 6.5 all the way up to 8%. I can tell you, I've quoted loans with buy downs at 6.5. I have also quoted loans at par at 8. So that math works. Where do I think they'll be? There.
Yeah. So Anthony, you trying to buy or refinance? What do you got going on? Cisco V, can credit card repair remove 2 late payments that I have?
Maybe.
Maybe.
If you still want the trade line, then maybe not. Because usually what they do is they say, hey, my client's middle initial is T. You used E. This is inaccurate. I demand you remove the entire trade line for your inaccuracy. Now, if that trade line was helping you, then that could be a problem. But if it was hurting you, buy trade line. They messed up by putting an E as my middle initial instead of a T. That's how it works.
Yeah. So the credit repair agencies, they're going to use the law of legal blah, blah, blah. And that's their profession. That's what they do. I think that you probably have better luck with you trying to talk to the person that lent you credit first. Letting them know whatever challenge you had, it was a mistake. Please, please, please. Pay it to 0. Show them good faith. All that stuff. You're going to want to call them. So the most recent one that I've had in these was on a mortgage late. Mortgage lates are a pain in the ass. And the only success that we had was having the borrower actually call the bank and plead their case and cross their fingers and pray to God that they can get that thing removed. Because current lates, they really hurt you guys. They really hurt you. I'll let you know that I have a file going right now where the person has 4 lates in the last 12 months, okay? And they're not within the last few months, but they're inside of 12 months. And because of that, we cannot get a conventional approval. We can get an FHA approval, but they want to get into a condo that's not FHA approved for whatever reason, blah, 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 and we cannot get a conventional approval. But with lates, within the last month, your best chance is probably FHA. So Cisco, if you're thinking about buying a house, give us a call. We can probably still make it happen. Rancho Fugio, you're welcome. Blessed 12022. How soon can I plan to buy a house after BK? I know 2 years from BK. Yet, when should I start?
So blessed. You are blessed.
Again,
that's different blessed. That's blessed 2022. The other one was just blessed. So blessed 2022. So if you did a chapter 13, so there's 2 big different bankruptcies for people. For corporations, it's a little different. But for people, it's 7 and 13. If you did a 13 and you made the payments on time, I can literally get you a loan while you're in the chapter 13 bankruptcy. Can literally do it while you are in bankruptcy. Can do it. Chapter 7, good question. 2 years after discharge. 2 years after discharge. Okay? So, I don't want to know when you filed. Everybody has the file date. They think that's the starting date. It's not the starting date. The discharge date is the starting date. So once I know discharge date, I cannot legally open an escrow till that discharge date, 2 years plus 1 day. So you can start looking probably 90 days, 60 days ahead. You can even find the property as long as you know you can't ink a contract until 2 years, 1 day. There's a small exclusion, but rarely does it ever happen, and that's called extenuating circumstances. What are extenuating circumstances? I lost my job because a tornado took out Florida, and Florida doesn't exist anymore. All right, that's extenuating circumstances. Because of that, I have to file BK and get a new job in Tennessee. Okay, in that situation, I might be able to pull it off. But extenuating circumstances is not my husband left me and he doesn't pay the bills. That is not extenuating circumstances. I had a kid. That was a choice. That is not extenuating circumstances. There's a lot of things that people think are extenuating circumstances, but they're not. If a hurricane took out Florida and you lost your job and could not go back to work and you prove it, I might be able to make that work.
Nice. Julio Perez, 80K, 720 credit score. What should I be looking for?
You should be looking for Chris.
What's up, man? Let's get you qualified. Let's get this process started.
You should start at about 320, 340, 350, 360, somewhere in that range. Maybe a little better.
Yep. You gotta figure out how much revolving debt you have too, Julio. That's gonna factor. It's gonna affect you. Maybe, maybe not. Rancho Fugio, do you guys do credit repair? I need to remove the inquiry.
Inquiry?
No!
Why would you remove an inquiry?
He's not saying the correct lingo.
Oh, okay.
But he's on the right path.
All right,
he's on the
okay.
right path, I think.
Yeah.
So, no, we do not personally do credit repair. We are loan officers, and we're the best when it comes to being a loan officer. We don't do other stuff. Well, maybe investments and stuff like that. But when it comes to credit repair, you want a professional who actually does this for a living. And yes, we can recommend you to some good people. But here's what I'm going to recommend. Rancho Fugio, let us look at your file first. I mean, you can go to the link up top and click on Fix My Credit and hire somebody there. We can also recommend other people that we use. But how do you know you need to remove that? Have you already tried getting pre-qualified? Did you already talk to a loan officer? Are you trying to buy a house? Because I would start there. And then if it's a hard stop from that standpoint, then yeah. Then hire somebody, start spending money, and get moving. But you might be qualified. So let's take a look. Anonymous, 100K. Income. 841 credit score. What should I be looking for?
A mansion?
100K is good income, man.
A mansion?
841 credit? Holy smokes!
841 credit. Dude, at 841 credit, 100K, you're cracking 420 to 480. 420 to 480. We might break 500 depending on property tax base and insurance.
Yeah. Cisco V, we already answered that question, so hopefully we hear from you. Terry, how can I remove a charge-off?
You take that.
Terry, do you have bad credit? Is your credit score really low? And what I mean by really low is under a 600, okay? Is it under 600? Because here's the fact on a charge-off. We don't have to factor a payment from that charge-off when it comes to your approval. So here's what a charge-off is. You went to Discover and you got a credit card with $1,000 limit and you went to Vegas and had a good time. I don't know if $1,000 gets you a good time in Vegas, but you went and had a good time. And you hit hard times. You were unable to pay that credit card back for whatever reason. Or maybe you're a silly kid like I was once and made some mistakes, okay? Now, what happened is they chased you for a little bit. Discover said, hey, make a payment, and you just ducked them or said no, or maybe you can't, okay? So they chased you for a little bit. Then, at the end of the year, Discover said, you know what? We were chasing Terry for a long time now. Can't get the money. We're going to write it off on our taxes. So they went to the IRS and said, we have a $1,000 loss on Terry, and they got a little bit of a deduction. So they wrote it off, which on your credit report now is a charge-off, which means you don't owe that money, okay, to Discover. They're going to sell it to another credit collection agency. The other collection agency is going to call you and try to get the money, but they're irrelevant. Now, this charge-off, the way we see it is this has been settled. It's not something that you need to dig back up and try to address, because if you do try to dig it up and address, and let's just say that it's 2 years old, it's going to report as brand new. So it could affect your credit scores and making them go down. So just like I told Cisco V, If you're interested in getting a home loan, let us look at it first. Let us determine if it's going to affect your buying process or not. And if it's going to affect you negatively, we'll send you down the right path. If it's going to affect you positively, we'll send you shopping possibly, Terry. So give us a call. Rancho Fugio, you're welcome, man. You're welcome.
We are here for you guys. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Check
Teaching
the
you how to
messages.
buy a house in 2024.
Does that show you the messages right there?
This one?
Yeah. Will it pop
It's
up?
right here, yeah.
Because this one I have to dig in.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about when it comes to the Fed talking about our economy and what they're going to do with interest rates. So what my question was, why do they put out reports, and why is there always a revision, and why does it always seem to be better for the country when there's a revision?
So there's a conspiracy theory to that. And the conspiracy theory is that it's affecting Wall Street. So if some of the numbers come in good, Wall Street responds. If some of the numbers come in bad, Wall Street responds. They're giving everybody's giving best guess. You're giving best guess. If I ask you how much money you're going to make this year, you can't tell me exactly. It's best guess.
Yeah.
If I ask you how many loans you're going to close this month, you can't give me exact. It's going to be best guess.
Yeah, but GDP is based on what's happened, not a guess.
Not entirely.
So,
I mean,
it's based on sales?
That's what you're saying.
Okay, tell me
That's
what
not
it
what
is again.
GDP is gross domestic product.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means that domestically, products that have moved.
Okay,
and
magic
are-
word there.
Yeah, and my word would be reported as sold, but that's not in there. Gross domestic product. So, if you're taking the word sold and trying to hang on that word, probably not going to go anywhere with it.
I'll just Google
Because
it.
I will tell you that this is so difficult to deal with. So, do you think the Supreme Court justices are smart?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
All of them. Even the stupid ones.
like really,
Yes.
like really smart?
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
insanely, ridiculously smart?
The ability to read people, the
Yeah.
ability to understand, the ability to interpret, the ability to do all those things. Yes.
How come they can't agree on an answer?
Because they are politically driven.
I don't think they're politically driven.
I think so.
I think they have political ideologies,
No.
but because they're appointed for life, they don't have to appease a party. But the programming is in them. So when you say politically driven, I think they grew up on the left or they grew up on the right, and they have that programming inside of them, and you can't get away from that programming, I don't think. But when you get to those really difficult decisions, the smartest people in the world can't agree. They cannot agree. I can tell you right now, there are people that do not agree 1 and 1 equals 2. Are they stupid?
No. But who said anyone was stupid?
So if they can't agree 1 and 1 equals 2, that sounds so simple. When you say GDP has already happened.
Well, I'm asking you, based on your information, I'm getting actual
All right, read
clear,
it. Yeah, read it.
Clear understanding.
Please read it. Yeah, I would love this. Is good for us.
GDP is compromise of goods and services produced for sale in the market.
Okay.
Not sold. Produced for sale. So that is absolutely a projection.
Okay.
Absolutely a projection. So that being said, it makes sense when you say I produced 10 water
produced
bottles
is sold. Well, produced is made.
for sale. Produced for sale. So
Yeah.
I produced 10 of these to be sold, but if only you're going to put 10 in your initial report, but I actually sold 8 revision. That makes sense.
No, sold is different because that's not GDP. GDP, now you're talking CPI. Consumer price index is a little bit, and then goods sold is another factor. So when you say, well, how about one day? It just comes in on one day. This one comes in on one day. Goods sold comes in on one day.
Okay, then I go back to bullshit then, because if I'm saying
I'm
for
with you.
sale,
I'm
for
with you.
sale,
Yeah,
I
I'm with you.
produce 10.
Yeah.
Literally,
Well, go
here,
with trucks.
goods and
Go with trucks.
services produced
Cool.
for sale.
Go with trucks.
We'll use trucks then. 10 trucks. Okay?
Okay.
So I produced 10 trucks. Why is there a revision if I produce 10?
Because I don't know. You tell me. Why is there a revision if you produce 10?
This is where the bullshit
Yeah,
kicks
this
in.
is where I tell you. This is why I say conspiracy theory kicks in, because they have the ability to go back in. But if you go back in and you've seen the cleaned up numbers, they're usually a little off.
Well,
on
share
the
the one.
macros.
Share the one. I think it was CPI for coffee.
Yeah.
Was it coffee?
It's not. Yes, it was for coffee. So CPI. That's not CPI. That one. What is? No. CD. Come on. Somebody help me out here. Consumer CDP. I don't know. I'll get the right. But it's a basket of goods every month that they buy, and they go to a store, and it's a random store. It's not a store that can be picked. It can be picked. It's a random store, and they say, "Hey, listen. Every month I go to the store and I buy tomatoes and cucumbers, and I buy a pound of beef, and I buy something, and I buy this, and I buy something else and something else." So then they put this package of goods together, and they tell everybody what it is. But if you get into it deep, they're like, "Hey, I don't like the way this looks." You know why? Because coffee's so expensive that I don't want coffee in this basket anymore. So they type up a little form. They say, "Hey, we want to remove coffee and we want to replace it with macaroni." So they go through and they go, "All right, coffee's out, macaroni's in." Now what they've done is they've adjusted the numbers, and they've told you the truth and lied to you at the exact same time. And that happened about 2 months ago. They removed coffee because coffee got too expensive. But if you remove the constant factors, you no longer have a real number. And if you don't have a real number, it's really hard to get that actual where we're at in the economy. That's why I go back to the boat analogy. If I say it's easy to dock on a calm lake, anybody can do it. Easy. Anybody. As long as you know boats don't have brakes and come in slow, anybody can dock it. That's easy. It's super easy. However, if you're going into a 4-ramp situation where there's 4 boats bringing their four slots for boats to come in and out, and you're docking a relatively heavy boat, there are a lot of factors going in there. It's insane. If you want to have some fun, go watch the dock on any Saturday or Sunday morning.
Oh, man,
just people backing in.
It's
just people backing in is insane. But it's really hard to get that boat in there. And especially some of these rich guys who go out and they buy like this yacht, and you have to really understand what you're doing to dock that thing. You have to really understand. And they're like, "Hey, I'll just come in really fast. Holy shit, I can't stop. This thing weighs 70,000 pounds. It's not stopping." Wow. Well, that's the economy. And the economy gets affected by all kinds of stuff. Like, for instance, the Orange Man's trial that's about to get solved today, tomorrow, the next day, whatever. Do you think that's going to affect markets? I can tell you for a fact it is. It's going to affect markets, which is going to affect, hey, should we produce more trucks or less trucks? I don't know. It depends on how deep you go in and where figure it out. Do we need more concrete or less concrete? I don't know. Is Russia going to like us more or less? I don't know. But I do know that as soon as that thing happens, there are going to be effects that ripple through the economy. And the only one who can handle it, who understands it, is somebody who's been navigating the economy for a very long time and doesn't freak out when a big boat comes by. Because I'll tell you, my first year or 2 owning a boat, I freaked out when the wind was high, when the current was rough. Now, I don't care what's going on. I can make this thing happen. I just have to be able to adjust. And sometimes it means it's going to be a very long docking day. I'm going to do it very slow, methodically.
And piss everybody off.
No. If you do it right, you're not pissing anybody off. You do it because the ones that are fast and don't understand, they're dangerous. And everybody knows it. Everybody. You can tell within like 20 seconds whether somebody knows what they're doing. 20 seconds, whether they're out on the waiting to get docked or whether they're back in the truck. I've seen people like they're all kinds of wrong way, and they're like, "No, I fix it real quick," and they fix it, and they come right back in. You're like, "I know, yeah, that guy's good, no matter what."
You get mad at the guys who are new?
I just get out of their way. I understand that everybody has to be new. It's like a new loan officer. You have to be new. Before you can be good, you have to screw up a lot of files. Before you can dock a boat good, you gotta jackknife it a few times. You gotta ramp. I mean, I was with my uncle-in-law. It's the best way to call it, uncle-in-law, and he had a brand new pontoon, beautiful, badass pontoon, and he was coming in way too hot. And I'm like, "Slow down, you're coming in hot." He goes, "I'm fine." I'm like, "No, you're not." And he got right on his trailer, and there was a spare tire right here with a metal piece holding it up. And that spare tire right here is no longer there. It is now bent over like this, and he got to send his pontoon boat to repair. Yeah, that happened.
Well, it's a good thing you had that pole.
I know, because if
That's
not,
what
he
it's
would have
there
gone
for.
to the boat. He would have gone to the truck.
I know you're going to say that's not what it's there for, but that's what it's there for. He saved himself in this truck.
I think so, yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So when we talk about GDP, okay, when we talk about all these numbers, when we talk about all this data that comes out, it does affect the markets and it does affect interest rates, but it doesn't mean that those things are necessarily happening. It's just an effect of the consumer confidence, okay? So when yesterday they announced that GDP was originally came in at 1.3 and was revised to 1.6.
Okay.
Okay. And that made interest rates go down. Not from like they adjusted interest rates down. The confidence in bonds changed, which brought down the rates. Why?
Which is that 100 basis point to 250 basis point spread. Here's why. Because when there's certainty, when you know you're going to hit your mark. So let's say we're closing 20 loans a month and you're thinking about buying a Ferrari. And we've been closing 20 loans a month for the last 2 years. 20 loans a month, you know what your income is going to be pretty solid. Are you confident in buying that Ferrari?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what you're going to do, right? But if all of a sudden we had an erratic movement and now you only funded 8 loans 1 month and then you funded 18 and then you funded 7, are you confident? Not anymore. So your consumer confidence goes away. Because of that consumer confidence, you pad it a little more. You're like, hey, I don't want that $200,000 Ferrari. I'll take the $130,000 because I don't have the confidence that I had before. Because I don't have the confidence, I'm buying a little lower because I got to be a little closer to the bone on this one. That's the same thing with interest rates. When interest rates are coming down and we're confident they're coming down, that 250 basis point spread drops down to 100 in a lot of cases, 100 basis points. So at 5.5 prime with the 10-year yield coming off that, you're about 6.57% in that range. But we're not sure where they're going. Hiccup, 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 hiccup. Rates, you've seen this over the last 3 months. They've gone up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But the Fed funds rate has not changed from 5.25, 5.5. It's stayed for the last 7 or 8 months. It hasn't moved. Well, if it hasn't moved, why has the rest of it gone up and down, up and down, up and down? Because that is driven by the market. But the guy who's driving the ship, the one who's driving the ship, isn't creating the waves. He knows where he's going. And he's just dealing with the waves as they come. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's address this. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Mariela Valdares. I'm self-employed. I have a home and currently paying a mortgage. My question is, instead of putting my money on the bank, I put it in principal and interest to pay my whole debt in 2 years. What do you think?
If I could pay off, well, 2 things. One, it's going to depend on what your long-term goals are. The reason is, if you have cheap money, and I'm talking cheap money, 2.75% interest rate. Do you have a 2.7% interest rate?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do too. We both got in, we bought down, we both have in the 2s. I think mine's 2.875, but close enough. So we're in the 2s, which means it's super cheap money. That's ridiculously cheap money, and it's a tax write-off. Now, because I plan on having high income for the next 10, 15, 20 years, I need write-offs. Because I need write-offs, I'd rather not do it where somebody's making a fortune. And if I'm borrowing money at 2.875, that's cheap money and I get the write-off. So that's good news for me. Good news. However, if I was retiring and I didn't want to have that debt, I'd pay that thing off in a blink. Why? Because there's a comfort and I don't have primary income coming in order to offset the payout that I'm putting out there. So 3.5% is cheap money. That's cheap money. So if you're close to retirement and you're going to lose your primary income sources, I would recommend, 1, you talk to a financial planner, because I'm not your financial planner. I'm not your financial planner. So I recommend you talk to a financial planner. But if it were me, if we're doing it for me, because I plan on continuing their income, I need the write-offs. So I plan the write-offs so that they complement my life. But if I was going to a fixed income, I'm now just living off my, I don't know, retirement, Social Security, whatever it is. I'm living off of that. Now I have to go, okay, do I want this debt anymore? Do I want the bank to make it? Because the write-off doesn't do me any good anymore because I don't have money coming in to write off against. So in that scenario, I pay that thing off like fast.
Yeah. And the other question is, what is your source of income?
Yeah.
So if you're loan officers and our income is going blip, 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 it'll come back, but it's going down at the moment. Is that a good time to spend all your cash? Probably not. Are you a government employee? Do you work for the state where those are guaranteed paychecks and you're a good employee so you won't lose your job? That's another thing to factor. So when you talk to your CPA, make sure you're asking those questions. Back to our conversation.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so consumption was down. Okay, so consumption went from 2% revised to 2.5%. Okay, why does that affect the markets? I mean, if people are spending less money, why do interest rates come down?
Well, consumption is not bad. So first is production. So I produced 10 trucks. Like you said, 10 trucks, okay?
Oh, God.
And then I consumed 10 trucks. One of these guys again.
Hey, Clips, how you doing?
Hey, Clips, how you doing? Have you guys ever worked with a copywriter? Eclipse, we try all the time, but it doesn't work out. I don't think...
Tell them why.
Okay, Clips, I'm going to tell you. I think it's a bullshit title that people give themselves, copywriter. That's a cute title. It's a cute title. They're like, what do you do? Well, I write copy. What is copy? It's my speaking. It's what the frick I speak. And the only way you can write copy for a loan officer is to actually know the guidelines and be a loan officer for about 10 years. Yeah, there are writers in Hollywood who make a fortune. There are writers who publish novels who make a fortune. But they have to be damn good, and you have to shop yourself. They are actually there's actually a writers guild. It's in a union. It's a union of writers that are so good. They go, you know what? I'm going to pay union dues of about $5,000 a year because I make $100, $200, $1 million a year. So for writers, I appreciate that profession. That's tough. But we have kids coming in all the time going, hey, I heard I can make $1 trillion a year being a copywriter. All I'm going to do is write your copy and charge you $5,000. No. It's cute, man, but we tell everybody the same thing. If you actually brought value to the table, and I can turn that into real dollars, I can either turn it into more following that I can turn into money, or I can turn it into loans, I will happily pay you. I will happily pay you. Nobody ever takes that offer. I think that title is bullshit.
Yeah,
Sorry,
everyone
Clips.
wants
Sorry,
a guaranteed
Clips. Yeah.
paycheck.
Sorry, Clips. I welcome you to, on my platform, tell me how you're valuable. I welcome you to. And if you can, actually create value, not clean up words. I promise you, I probably spoke more words in my 55 years than you can come up with in your 24. I spoke more. I know that are words that don't ever get used anymore. Now, if you're so good, if you're Harry Potter good, if you're, J.K. Rowling's good, if you're that good, then writer, man, be a writer. Go be a writer for the people that'll pay you. People on the internet, it's cute, copyright. When somebody's making a fortune, they have no idea where they're spending their money. They'll pay people. They pay, like the rich people in Hollywood pay publicists and image consultants. They pay these people ridiculous amounts of money. It's usually common sense. It's like, hey, don't wear that see-through gown if you want a long-term career. Yeah, probably not a good idea. And Clip says, I'm 32. I appreciate you, 32. I do. If you're really good, I hope you make a fortune. Like, not hundreds of thousands. I hope you make millions. I hope you write a script and it's just bought by Hollywood and they pay you millions for that script. I hope you do. I hope you're J.K. Rowling's, who's like, hey, I'm just writing because I'm really good at writing and I'm going broke, but I'm just keep writing. I'm going to keep writing. And then before you know it, J.K. Rowling's is worth $1 billion because J.K. Rowling's was that good and flexed that writing muscle. And Clips, if I really could turn that into money, I would hire you, but I can't ever prove that I could turn it into money.
He said he made millions writing emails and website copy for businesses online.
Maybe you did, man. If you did, why would you be on my live, dude? If you really are that good, I really would like you on my team. I would. I really would. But my deal's going to be the same for you as it is with a brand new loan officer. It's going to be, hey, prove to me I make money and I have no problem paying you. I don't care what your fee is. I don't care what your fee is. Some people come to me and say, hey, Lee, what if I can get you 20 loans a month? I say, if you can get me 20 loans a month, this is my profit. As long as it fits within my profit, I'll pay you whatever you want. If you want 100 grand and it fits within my profit lines, I will pay you. I have no problem paying you. I can write the check. But I got to the spot where I'm at because I understand the dynamics of business. And people that are good, shit, they're in demand, man. They're in demand. In demand. So I appreciate you, Clips, and I'm really glad you've made millions. I really am. I hope you really are a multimillionaire living in the life, your best life you possibly can, driving the best vehicle you can, living exactly where you want to, making exactly I really do hope so. If you're not and you're hustling like we are, because I'm not living exactly the life. I'm living a pretty good life, but I'm not living exactly the life. I'm always looking for people to add to my team, to my wolf pack, to build bigger. So, Clips, if you're that guy, let's make it happen, man. And I appreciate you being here. I really do. Hey, you know what? One thing I really appreciate is all of you guys. We've been Chris and Lee. We are out.